All right, welcome back. We are now going to begin talking about the next phase of change, which, as I mentioned in the last video, is conviction. This is the phase where people know what the right thing is to do. They may have changed their mind about a certain thing, going from, status quo, don't need to change at all, to maybe I need to change, to research and resource, creating some kind of a plan, and then stalling, not actually putting the plan into action. And, in that planning phase of research and resource, it's important to be listening for, I mentioned this last video too, like, does this sound realistic to you? Does this sound attainable? Is it measurable? Is it controllable? A good acronym to use, it's in the Life Care book, is COSMIC. It stands for controllable, obtainable, simple, measurable, immediate, and consistent. So whatever plan your client came up with in the R&R phase, you want to make sure that it's cosmic, that it meets all of those descriptors in the COSMIC acronym. Because if they create too big a plan, too nebulous, there's things in there that are outside of their control, it's just not going to work. Or what if it's not measurable? Like, people will say all the time, I want to be happier, or I want to be less angry. And it's like, well, what does that look like? If I was a fly on the wall watching you be happier, what would I see? So you take these intangibles and you want to make them tangible. You want to break them down to behavioral, observable things or actions, so that So, like, let's say they say, well, I want to be more fit. It's like, okay, well, what's your goal? Is it a certain weight? Do you want to be able to run a certain distance? Do you want to be able to lift a certain weight? Do you want to be able to do a certain amount of pull-ups? Like, what does that look like? Do you want to be a certain pant size or dress size? Make it behavioral, make it measurable, so that they know whether they've gotten there or not, as they're moving towards that goal. The other thing is, you can break down in this phase, you can help them by breaking down complex goals into smaller, more attainable goals. So if they decide, I want to climb Mount Kilimanjaro, that's my plan. It's like, okay, well, maybe we should start with a local hill, or start with some daily walking, or start with some strength exercises. Just break it down into something that's attainable. You want to give them small wins that build momentum, build confidence as they move towards that larger goal. That's how you can help them get over this conviction hump where, they know what the right thing is to do, but they just haven't quite been able to put that plan into action yet. At the end of the day, you can know what the right thing is to do, but until you actually start changing your behaviors so that you have a emotional experience of the truth, then the truth won't actually feel real. We'll see this later on when we talk about cognitive behavioral coaching. There's the period where you modify their thinking, but then their behavior has to be modified in line with that new way of thinking, until the new way of thinking actually starts to feel real. So believing something like, I can do it, that's fantastic. But until you actually get out and try and have an experience of success, I can do it will only feel so real. So we need to get them past this phase of conviction. Now, how do you do this? Well, like I said, helping them make a cosmic plan, helping them break down big goals into small goals. You could have them write out a list of pros and cons for change. Again, even though you're a little more active now in helping them brainstorm about how they're going to achieve this plan, you're still not pressing them. Well, you're not pressing in harder than they're pressing in. And so, they are convicted that this is the right thing to do. You're convicted that this is the right thing to do. They're hesitant to get started. You're helping them figure out how they can get started in a way that makes sense to them. And so you can continue exploring, what are your reasons for staying the same? What are your reasons for change? If you keep doing nothing, will that get you to where you want to go? Things like that. Again, hoping for them to build the argument for change using proper IV to elicit that change talk so that they're the ones telling you why it's important for them to get over this hump and to get started. Okay, so that is the conviction phase of change. And the next phase is a fun one because that is the action phase. That is where they're going to actually start putting the plan into action behaviorally, not just thinking it, but doing it. And that is what we're going to talk about in our next session. So I will see you there.